Oh my goodness, I've never stood beside myself like this before. Hello, Perry. How are you? Hello, Colombia. Hello, Bogota. I've never been to Colombia before. This is my first time. I landed last night. And you never know what to expect when you come to a different country. Is anybody from Brazil here? Anyone? Okay, so I can talk about Brazil. The first time I went to Brazil, I was very unimpressed with the airport, and I travel a lot for work. And one of the things that I look at and judge a country by is their airport. And I have to say that when I came here last night, I was very impressed with what I had to see, and certainly being able to walk around and go for a run this morning. I'm in love with your city, and I can't wait to come back already, and I'm still here for another 2 days. What I wanted to talk about over the course of the next 26 minutes or so is the idea of how we can create content strategically to help enhance our brand on LinkedIn, certainly, but also on other platforms. For me, content is king. Content is really what can drive our business into the future. Content is what allows us to connect our brand with new people and also allows us to inspire new people. For me, content is really just an opportunity for us to be able to have a conversation like we've never been able to have before. And certainly this is not an advertisement for LinkedIn in any way, but there's a really unique opportunity that we have on LinkedIn, on the platform, to be able to communicate with millions of people, not just here in Colombia, but millions of people, to be able to really get people to understand how our brand is different from all the other brands that people will interact with. So I'm going to quickly show you some strategies I think that you can use right now to be able to help create some of the content that can allow you to enhance your brand on LinkedIn. I have to show you this picture because, again, look, I get to do this again. Hi, Perry. This is beautiful. If my Twitter handle is on the bottom there, if you wanted to tweet during the presentation, I would appreciate any mentions that you give. So, of course, I have to talk about how many people are on LinkedIn. That's something that would be silly for me not to talk about. And certainly this number, I think, is impressive when you think about the fact that there are 433 million professionals on LinkedIn. But let's talk about LATAM specifically. You can see here that there are certainly a growing number of countries that are appearing on this map. Typically, we don't show any countries on this larger map unless there is at least 1 million members. Colombia has been on this map for a long time, currently having 3 million members, and Colombia is the 4th largest geography on LinkedIn in LATAM. LATAM as a region is the 3rd largest region overall, which is really impressive. A lot of our growth on the network comes from right here, comes from countries like Colombia, comes from LATAM, and comes from China. Asia Pacific, huge growth opportunity there for us. Obviously not so much growth opportunity for us in North America, just because we've been present there for much longer. So specifically to Colombia, and then you can see some of the other numbers there, 3 million members in Peru, 4 million members in Colombia, my apologies, 3 million members in Chile, and obviously Brazil being the biggest in South America at 25 million. There is a massive, massive audience here for you to be able to communicate with. And obviously Spanish is certainly a language that is used quite extensively on the network, so don't feel as though you have to use English. A lot of people do default to English, certainly, but it's not something that you absolutely have to do. This is a unique concept, I think, when it comes to LinkedIn or strategic content creation. The big difference about creating content and speaking to your network on LinkedIn is that you're actually doing it as an individual. You can do it a little bit as an organization, as a company, but your brand suddenly becomes not only the brand of your organization, but also becomes your own personal brand. Your brand on LinkedIn, first and foremost, is your own personal brand. And so what I challenge you to think about when you're starting to think about a content strategy for LinkedIn is think about all the people that are going to potentially read this. Would this be something that we would talk about over a cup of coffee? When you boil it down to that really, really simple sort of situation that happens every single day, sometimes multiple times in a day, then it becomes a little bit easier. I find a lot of companies and a lot of individuals push out content to the network that they find interesting, but no one else does, or they think makes them look important. And that's not really the strategy that you want to employ. From my perspective, any content that is going to be engaging or interesting to your network is going to be the similar type of content that you're going to have a conversation with one-on-one with someone. Not everyone thinks about that. People forget about that. Companies forget about that. They have this idea that content needs to be something really big and exciting and takes years to come up with. It doesn't have to be that. It can be just as simple as thinking about, hey, what am I going to sit down and have a cup of coffee with and talk about with the next person that walks through my door? Think about your brand just as simple as that. This is something that I probably don't have to define for this particular audience, but for me, it's something that's really interesting because there are so many definitions of brand and so many ideas of what a brand is. There are two major brands, well, one, just two physical aspects of them in this room, being these cars. Audi is a huge brand. But brand obviously has extended much beyond products and services. I'm sure all of you would agree to a certain extent that all of you individually are brands. It's really important for us to make sure that we understand that individuals are as much of a brand now as products and services have been. To me, this is the formal definition of brand, and you can see here that it's certainly written with the idea of describing a car. But think about what your brand is, your individual brand. Again, remembering from a LinkedIn perspective, everything is flowing out of your own personal profile. Even when you are representing your organization, it's still coming from you as an individual. Think about where and when you decided to change jobs and move into another role. You didn't go work for another company. You went to go work with a different group of people. Brands are people. The ability for you and your organization to talk to other individuals happens here at the individual level first. And so when you think about your brand, you think about that idea of having a cup of coffee with somebody, think about it from a personal perspective. Think about it from me as the individual. Now, being aware of a brand obviously is really, really important for the success of our business. Just take a look at this stat here. It's quite remarkable to think about how much people are making up their minds before they even engage with us in a formal way. They're engaging with us in ways in which they've never done so before. Some of you might have engaged with my personal profile or LinkedIn before you came here to hear me speak today and all the other speakers and made some sort of an impression as to whether or not you wanted to actually be here for this presentation. If we listen to this stat here, 60% of the decision-making process was already made because of what you know or don't know about me. Because of what you know or don't know about this event. Because of what you know or don't know about any particular brand. That's extremely powerful for us to make sure that we leverage. So how can we make sure that people are aware of our brand? How can we make sure that we're increasing the awareness of our brand? Obviously, we're talking about it from a LinkedIn perspective here, but I think that this is relevant for all sorts of different platforms. For me, the key to this, from a LinkedIn perspective, is being able to publish. Has anyone here actually published a post already? Anyone? Couple people? Does anybody know what this functionality is? All right. This is good. I'm going to teach you something. Everyone has the opportunity to blog on LinkedIn. Right now, you can go to LinkedIn, right on the homepage, and publish a post. It could be 100 words, It could be 500 words. It could be about whatever it is that you wanted it to be. This is the way that you can engage with your brand on a level that has never been available before. Certainly from a LinkedIn perspective, and then obviously across other platforms, it's a lot more difficult to do this. This is an opportunity for you to showcase your thought leadership, an opportunity for you to be able to raise your brand awareness because of the opportunity you have to publish. You can also add in, I understand you learned a lot about this already today, this idea of adding media. We love media. We love the idea of being able to click on a video and watch it. You have that opportunity on LinkedIn now. You can tell your story in a video format. Similar to a lot of other platforms, you have the opportunity to build followers. They don't have to just be connected to you. In fact, you can have people who are following you on LinkedIn but are not actually connected with you at all. Now, why do we care about followers on LinkedIn? I love numbers, I love stats, so let me give you some. Someone who is following you or your company are 3 times more likely to apply for a role that is open at your organization. Now, do we really care about talent brand? Do we care about recruiting? Do we care about any of that stuff? Maybe, maybe not. But certainly understanding that we have an effect, a positive effect, on the people that we are reaching out to is really important for us to recognize. People do not follow companies and individuals on LinkedIn like they do on other platforms. It's a very, very different ecosystem. People follow less people, and they follow less organizations relative to other platforms. And so this stat is really important. Additionally, if you ever wanted to reach out to these people in the communication that we have on LinkedIn via InMail, you can see how much more likely these people are actually to respond. There's a lot of paid opportunities for you to do this, but there's certainly many, many free opportunities for you to leverage this as well. Followers are key. And here's one that is, for me, the real game changer when it comes to attracting followers in terms of raising your brand awareness, being strategic about that content strategy. 71% of everyone who is following you or your company are interested to hear what you have to say. They want to hear from you. They are actually showing up to Starbucks. They're showing up to whatever coffee shop it is that you want to go to and waiting for you to communicate with them. They want to hear your content. They want to read it. They want to consume it. They want to learn more about you and your organization. This is an amazing opportunity for you to be able to build content strategy, to be able to build that awareness, raise that awareness of your organization. And it's not just about sharing information. It's not just about pushing out a link and just getting people to read it or hoping that they're going to click on it. It's really about starting that conversation, right? Remember, think about going out for coffee with someone. When we push out information to our followers and to the people that we're connected to, it's not just about giving them the information that they want to see. It's about asking for their opinion. It's about highlighting different unique things that are happening at our organization. It's getting people interested. And it's also highlighting some of the things that maybe you wouldn't traditionally think would be highlighted on a professional platform. People want to see other individuals doing the things that are going to get them excited about your brand. There's all sorts of possibilities as to what you can do. From a talent acquisition perspective, from a customer acquisition perspective, from a partner, a client, an investor. There's all sorts of ways that you can start conversations with individuals, and it really does just start with this concept of starting a conversation with your followers. Now, what does the strategy, what should it look like? What should some of the things be a part of your strategy so that you're not always sharing the same thing? Again, going back to that coffee shop analogy, you don't want to be that person who every time you meet up with them always talks about themselves or talks about the same subject over and over again. It gets pretty boring, it gets dull. We like to have variety. So these are some best practices. Certainly doesn't have to be the absolute science of it, but these are things that I have done and implemented with my customers, and they've worked quite well. 40% of your content should be thought leadership and industry news. Again, people want to learn more about your company, but they also want to know about the things that are happening in your industry. They want to be aware of the fact that you are an expert. 25% of your content should be about talent brand. Talent brand speaks a lot and permeates into all sorts of other aspects of our business. It helps us grow our business in so many ways. And so you want to highlight some of the things that your organization is doing and some of the exciting opportunities that are available. You then want to focus on your actual company, of course. Product news could be big projects that you've won or anything exciting that's happening. Things that are happening, like being here is probably something that would be part of both company news and thought leadership. All the tweets that you're making today, that's thought leadership. A great idea from a content perspective would be to go back to your office today or tomorrow and then write a blog about the best part about today, what you learned, what you want to be able to transfer to your business. Don't underestimate how important and how interesting that would be to your followers. It also shows that you're passionate about your business. You're passionate about your industry. If you have any events or you have things that are going on in the community that you want people to know about, you want to make sure that you also take care of that. And then obviously having some fun posts is really important. Remember, we don't go to coffee with machines. We don't go to coffee with companies. We go with people. And I don't know about your culture well enough yet, because I've been here for less than 24 hours, but I know in Canada, every business conversation starts with either, how was your weekend? What are you going to do for the weekend? Or can you believe this weather? Every single conversation, guaranteed. It's very cold in Canada right now, unseasonably cold, so we're even more complaining. We're supposed to be coming into summer right now, and it's just not happening for us, so we're talking about it a lot. Just for fun could also be me taking a selfie on stage beside myself and saying, me and my twin are doing a presentation today in Colombia. Not only promotes the fact that I'm an international speaker, but it's also a little bit playful. For me, this is what your content strategy should look like. And then certainly there's, all sorts of levels of detail that you would then want to be able to build into that. Who does what, when, having a calendar of events is probably a really good idea so that you can have the ability to make sure that you're not over-indexing on something more than you should be. Critically thinking about this is really, really easy and doesn't take a lot of time, but you would be surprised how many organizations don't do this. It's a really easy opportunity for you to just take the effort out of that daily pressure of having to produce some content. You can see here that it tells me what I want to talk about, what the message is going to be, and where are we going to publish it. Because sometimes different content is going to go to different platforms, and that's okay. But recognizing what audience is on what platform is really important for you to be able to critically analyze. Because then as you're building out this plan, it's going to be one that is going to work for you. Now, I have to confess, as a speaker, one of the things that you learn very early on is that you need to be honest with your audience. Because if you're not honest and genuine, then your audience sees right through you. And right now, even though I've only been away from home for less than 24 hours, I desperately miss my 3 kids. I have my oldest daughter is named Grace, she's 6. My middle girl is Holly, she's 4. And my baby boy, Charlie, is 1. And I FaceTimed them last night in the airport before I left New Jersey, and I was just regretting the fact that I wasn't going to be able to put them to bed. For me, bedtime is the most special time of the day. Not because my wife and I finally get some peace and quiet, but because I get to lay in bed with my kids and read them a story. That is one thing that it doesn't matter what country, what continent, what language you speak. That's one thing that all of us as human beings love. We love stories. We love to hear stories. We love to tell stories. Some of us are better than others. But at the end of the day, storytelling should take a huge part, to be a big part of your content, especially when it comes from you. If there is a message that you want to deliver to your followers, to the people that you're trying to attract, if you can put that in the format of a story, where there is a beginning, a middle, and an end, and even a lesson, your content is going to get so much more activity. It is going to get so much more engagement. And really, there's no point in having content if there's no engagement. For me, the idea of publishing my content, wherever it is, it has to be in the format of a story, as much of that as I can possibly make it. In addition to telling a story, you want to make sure that you're authentic. So many of us receive text messages from friends or colleagues, and we read the text messages and we're like, wow, Julie's not having a good day today. I'm going to stay away from her. But we're told all the time that we shouldn't read tone into text. It's just letters on a screen. Why do we feel that we need to make that assumption that this person is not having a good day? We do it all the time. And people are going to do it for your content as well. You want to make sure that your content is authentic. Be genuine in your storytelling. Be genuine in your voice. Make sure that it is your voice. I had somebody here earlier joke with me that she had been seeing my picture for weeks as she was helping to organize the event. And I walked right by her, and she had to do a triple take. And she's like, "Is that you, Perry?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "You don't look like your photo anymore." Well, we all get older. We get a little bit bigger. The photo was from when I had 2 kids, not 3 kids. It's an example of not being as authentic as I could be. My photo should be more authentic. My content needs to be authentic in order to resonate, in order to make sure that people read it, absorb it, and become more aware of both my brand and the brand of my organization. We obviously want to make sure that we're using images, that we're creating a compelling headline. We want to make sure that we get people's attention. And I can't emphasize enough that we really need to start that conversation. So do you need more proof? Do you need more proof that content is important, especially on LinkedIn? The first time I saw this statistic, I couldn't believe it, and I work for the company. Think about this. A lot of people believe and use LinkedIn as a job board. They think that LinkedIn is a place to go find your next job. Then explain to me this particular statistic. When you publish something or create content on LinkedIn, there is 7 times more engagement with that content versus jobs. When you put a job on LinkedIn, share that with your network, yes, you get activity. Yes, you can make hires. Yes, you can grow your business in that way. But doing that alone isn't going to get you the best results. Content is going to deliver significantly more activity to everything else that you're doing on LinkedIn. I don't care what your organization's goals are for that platform, because there's all sorts of things that you can do and want to achieve. but content is going to get you the engagement that nothing else does. Remember, at the end of the day, content, especially on LinkedIn, is coming from you as an individual. Content needs to come from you. It needs to be authentic. It needs to be genuine. Preferably tell a story just like you would when you're taking someone out for coffee. So regardless of whatever type of audience it is that you're trying to reach, whether it be hundreds of people or millions of people, when I read your content, that's like you talking to me directly. I used to be in radio. I was in radio for 5 years, and I love the radio medium. I love radio as a broadcast. Why? Because when you listen to somebody talking on the radio, we believe they're talking directly to us. On TV, we don't believe that. We know this. There are studies there that tell us when we watch TV, we watch the news, we don't believe that that person is talking directly to us. They're talking to a large group of people. But when you're on the radio, listening to the radio, you believe that person is talking to you. The same thing is happening when you're creating content and pushing out content on LinkedIn. You're talking directly to those individuals. So whether it's hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of people, each one of them believe that you as an individual are speaking directly to them. It's really, really powerful stuff. So in 30 minutes, there's no way that I could talk to you about everything that you need to know from a content strategy perspective. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But I challenge all of you to go back to your offices, to your companies, to your organizations. Start to talk about the idea of producing content on LinkedIn, having your network engage with that content, and then being able to start to measure some of the things, the good things, that can happen from that. All the way from Canada, thank you very much. I appreciate it.